What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. You don't like it, you can have that seat up. Alright, so this video is gonna ruffle up quite a few feathers. And the reason for that being is, one, it's Dr. Trey's opinion, and two, because it's the truth. Now, the question I have to ask these Sony fans, or the PlayStation 4 owners, I should say, that hype the system up to no end, would you still love the PlayStation 4 as much if we're not number one? And the short answer to that is no. They wouldn't. Now for the long answers. Now, time and time again, we have seen that people they're attracted to and they migrate to whatever is successful, whether they think it's amazing or not. They just jump on the bandwagon. They jump on the hype bandwagon. And the crazy part about this, and I brought this up before, but we've even seen where if you take the large majority, or actually, I don't think I've seen hardly anyone, at least in this community, that bashes Nintendo that never owned an original Wii. Now you have to ask yourself, why is that? They hate Nintendo. They think Nintendo sucks. They think Nintendo needs to go third party, but they bought a Wii. Why? The reason they bought a Wii is because of hype and the fact that it was number one. The games on the Wii cater way less to the traditional gamer than the games on the Wii U. Yet, they bought a Wii and bashed the Wii U. Why is that? Because one was hugely successful and one wasn't. One console, they wanted to see what all the fuss was about, get in on the hype, and they purchased one, despite not even liking Nintendo. And it just shows just how powerful being popular, the need to want to be in the in crowd, is in today's society, even regarding video games. I guarantee you that if the Wii U and the PlayStation 4 had their places switched regarding sales, you wouldn't see nearly as much hating going on with the Wii U, and damn sure not as much praise for the PlayStation 4. And the reason for that is because, to be honest, Sony didn't really do anything that special with the PlayStation 4. It was more of a right place, right time, with a little bit of luck. Now, let me explain what I mean. Even if you go all the way back to the first official unveiling of the PlayStation 4, if you go back and look at a lot of people's videos and reactions to that, they weren't really that impressed. Like, at all. I mean, there was people like, oh yeah, day one, but they would have day one it regardless of what they shown. But if you go back and look at impressions, go back and look at videos that people uploaded based on that initial reveal, they weren't that impressed. Because Sony didn't show anything really to be that impressed about. Then we had the Xbox One reveal, which was very mediocre, which in turn made the Sony reveal look a little better. Now, this is where I say the luck comes into play. Now, a lot of people say that, oh, Sony handled this generation perfectly. They did everything right. Did they? Or did they just get lucky because of timing? Now, the biggest downfall of the Xbox One reveal and launch was two things. The expensive price, $500 with Connect, and also the always online DRM fiasco, right? But here's the funny part. Sony was planning the same kind of DRM as Microsoft. But once they saw the reaction that Microsoft got, they pulled away from it. The crazy part is, if there hadn't have been a negative response to the Xbox One's DRM, Sony would have had the same thing. Same thing with the price. And this is out of Sony's mouth. They decided the price of the PlayStation 4 after the Xbox One's price was revealed. After. They said it was a last minute, down to the wire decision. Meaning that if it was up to Sony, if Sony had to announce their price first, PlayStation 4 might not have even been $400. Might have been $450, might have been $500. Sony was in the right place at the right freaking time. Even down to their RAM. Now, one of the biggest differences between the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One come down to the PlayStation 4's RAM type. Uses a type of RAM that's much faster, easier to take advantage of, and everything. Now, the PlayStation 4 GPU still has more stream processors than the Xbox One, but the RAM is really making up the difference here. Now, the reason why I say Sony got lucky is because they did. The real reason why most of these developers didn't know that they were going to go with 8 gigs is because Sony itself wasn't sure if it was going to be possible. At that time, nobody knew if they were going to be able to manufacture that large amount of 8 gigs of that type of RAM. It was a risk. Matter of fact, if they wouldn't have been able to make it, they might have had to actually delay the PlayStation 4 or scrap 8 gigs altogether. It was a risk. It's not like they just sat there, oh yeah, this is going to be the coup de grace. Like, no, they didn't know if it was going to be available at that time. That was a risk. So pretty much Sony is getting patted on the back and getting praised for things that could have went either way. And the thing that kind of really upsets me is I see these people praising the PlayStation 4. Oh, it's amazing. It's the second coming of the PS2. No, the hell it's not. Not even close. You guys are praising this system because of the sales. And this is evident because you've seen multiple people, multiple Sony fans, when confronted about the lack of good games on the system, especially in 2014 or early 2015, what did they say? Oh, well, the way the PlayStation 4 is selling, it doesn't need games. Look, as soon as you say a game system doesn't need games, you're exposed right there. Right there. Nothing you say afterwards should have any kind of credibility once you say a game system does not need games. Period. But a whole lot of people in this community made those same silly, retarded statements. Now, like I said, the thing that upsets me about this system, people claim this is the coming of the PS2 and all this garbage just because of sales. Let's be real. In terms of games, this is the worst PlayStation so far. No PlayStation 2 years in had this lackluster lineup of games. That's not even up for debate. Every single PlayStation 2 years in had far and away better exclusives than the PlayStation 4 currently has. You can't even argue that. So what exactly did Sony do so amazing this generation? Make their announcements after the competition? Whoop-de-doo. So are we gonna act like the exclusives on the system so far are amazing? Are we gonna act like we're not disappointed with the lack of games coming out for the system? Lack of good games, I should say. There's plenty of games coming out for the system, but what does that mean if most of them aren't worth owning? What does that say? Now, the crazy part is a lot of these PlayStation 4 owners are flip-floppers by nature. And this is actually Sony coming out with stats that prove this theory. You remember when they came out with those numbers talking about how the certain such percentage of PlayStation 4 owners never played Last of Us, never played Uncharted, and that's why they're coming out with the HD remasters? Or they had that stat where what was it, something like 30 or 40% of current PlayStation 4 owners never owned a Sony system? That's because they bought it because of the sales. They bought it because of hype. Flip-floppers by nature. Exposed by Sony themselves. Now, I don't know. It's hilarious to me that people really do think that the sales of a system are more important than what's on the system. That crap is hilarious to me. I don't care how good this system's selling. It's so far the worst PlayStation ever. Have that seat.